Everyone has that one thing, that one passion that they can turn to as an outlet. For some, it's sports. For others, it's arts like dancing or painting. For me, it's writing. It all started when I was about 10 years old. My friend and I decided to have a songwriting competition. We constructed our lyrics and presented it to a group of neighborhood friends, and despite her popularity, my words won by a landslide. I realized I kind of have a knack for this writing thing, but I lacked structure. In 7th grade, in my English class, I found that structure. We learned, as I'd like to show you today, how to write a proper poem. To begin, you have to pick your poem's structure, or type of poem. Lyrics are still my favorite, but there are many, many types of poems. Next, you'll want to pick the theme or the mood of the poem. You'll also want to choose your perspective, or your point of view. Construct your poem, read, and revise, and you have a poem. With a combination of what I've learned in school and facts recently discovered, by the end of my presentation, you too will know how to write a proper poem. What will be your poem's structure? What's the format of the poem? This is the type of poem. And they're questions that you need to ask yourself when deciding what type of poem you want to write. There are several types, including sonnets, limericks, and lyrical poems. The most popular in English literature is the sonnet, which has 14 lines. Let me retract, it is one of the more strict poem structures. Some are more loose, some are more strict. This is one of the more strict ones. So, it has 14 lines that are divided into 4 stanzas, and stanzas are like your poem's paragraphs. It has a specific meter, which is your rhythm of the poem, so it's like ba-da, da-da, da-da, with an emphasis on every other syllable. At the end of the first 3 stanzas, the last word rhymes every other line. In the last 2 lines, which is your last stanza, both of those lines rhyme. So it's presented as A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Another popular type of poem is the limerick. The British Library notes that the limerick was popularized by Edward Lear's book of poetry titled The Book of Nonsense. Limericks have the rhyme structure of A, B, A, B, nope, A, A, B, B, A, A, with just 5 lines. But feel free to repeat those 5 lines. So you can have a limerick that's 10 lines long or 15 lines long. It would just be separated into those stanzas. Limericks and sonnets follow a specific rhyme scheme, but do all poems have to rhyme? Nope. The beauty of poetry is that it is art. And with art, you can be creative and you can be expressive. Most people are familiar with lyrics, but lyrics aren't always songs. Maya Angelou and Emily Dickinson, both known for lyrical poetry, are 2 of the most famous female poets of all time. In fact, according to Britannica, Dickinson is considered one of the leading 19th century American poets for her bold original verse. With free verse, as long as there's rhythm, there's poetry. Typically, you want to imply some kind of literary techniques like metaphors, a sonnet, or alliteration, or a combination of a couple or all of them. And if you are a rule bender or a free spirit, you want to kind of do more of your own thing versus having to be stuck to a strict structure, then the lyrical poems might be for you. Once you've got your style sorted out, it's time to pick the theme of your poem. What will your poem be about? What's the mood of your poem? The Poetry Foundation regards Edgar Allan Poe for his horror-themed poetry and they say that he typically has a somber or woeful mood to it. You really, really, really want to make some kind of emotional response when you write poetry. He often liked to use poetry to tell stories, but you can also use poetry to get a point across, to get a message out. So if you want to talk about cancer awareness, or if you want to talk about wildlife conservation, stuff like that, poetry is a good source for that. And, some people think that starting with the theme is easier than starting with the type of poem, and if that's easier for you too, feel free to start with 2 and then go back to 1. And step number 3, say you do pick a free verse and you pick that you want to write about wildlife conservation. Who are you in the poem? Who are you writing as? Are you writing as you? Are you an abandoned cub that just saw his mother get poached? Are you a tree screaming, "Don't cut me down, don't set me on fire"? Who you are in your poem, the point of view that you're writing from, is your perspective. And it is very important to keep a consistent perspective to keep your readers from getting confused. You don't want to start out talking as me and then switch it to the tree. Do you know who you are now? In relevance to your poem anyway? Good. Now it is time to construct your masterpiece. Put your heart into it. As with most writing processes, the final writing process is to read and revise. Here's where you'll check for any grammatical errors, any lines that you might want to switch out for different lines, any changes at all you'll make here in the read and revise stage. Once you've done that, you have your final draft, and you've written a poem yourself. Yay! With its multitude of unique structures and endless possibilities of themes, purposes, and perspectives, poetry is a beautiful art and a great outlet. Whether simple or complex, strict or free, by following this 5-step process, you now know how to write a proper poem. Poetry has been a #1 outlet for me, and by following these 5 steps, hopefully it can be a good outlet for you as well. Thank you.